The first American bomber exploded just 50 meters off my starboard wing, its burning fragments tumbling past my canopy like fallen stars against the blue Pacific sky. I yanked my Zero into a climbing turn, my heart hammering against my ribs as tracer rounds from a Wildcat stitched the air where I'd been seconds before. Below me, the carrier Shokaku burned like a funeral pyre, black smoke rising in a pillar that could be seen for 50 kilometers. Yet still they came, wave after wave of American bombers, their formations scattered but determined, pressing their attack with a persistence that chilled my soul. My name is Lieutenant Hiroshi Tanaka, and I was 23 years old when I learned that courage alone cannot stop destiny. 3 days before that morning of fire and metal, I had stood on the flight deck of the carrier Shokaku as she cut through the gentle swells of the Coral Sea. It was May 5, 1942, and the warm Pacific breeze carried the scent of salt and possibility. The deck crew worked with practiced efficiency, preparing our Zeros for what command promised would be a decisive blow against the American fleet. Tanaka-kun called my squadron leader Lieutenant Commander Yamamoto, not the famous admiral, but a man who shared his name and perhaps a fraction of his tactical genius. Come here and look at this. I walked over to where he stood studying aerial photographs spread across a makeshift table. The images showed American ships, carriers, cruisers, destroyers arranged in what appeared to be a defensive formation near the Louisiade archipelago. The Americans think they can stop Operation Mo, Yamamoto said, his weathered finger tracing the ships on the photograph. They do not understand that we are no longer the nation that can be intimidated by their industrial might. We have been preparing for this moment since Pearl Harbor. I nodded, though something in the photographs troubled me. The American ships seemed so orderly, so prepared. In our previous encounters with the enemy, we had caught them off guard, struck them before they could organize effective resistance. This felt different. How many carriers do they have? I asked. Intelligence reports 2, possibly 3. The Yorktown and Lexington for certain, and perhaps another. He rolled up the photographs. Against our 4 carriers and their full air groups, they stand little chance. 4 carriers. I thought of our sister ships, Suikaku, Zuiho, and Shoho, each loaded with experienced pilots and the finest aircraft the Empire of Japan could produce. On paper, Yamamoto was right. We should have overwhelming superiority. That evening, as the sun painted the sky in shades of orange and red, I sat in the pilot's ready room with my wingman, Petty Officer Kenji Nakamura. Kenji was barely 20, with the kind of eager enthusiasm that reminded me of myself just 2 years earlier. He was cleaning his pistol with meticulous care, as he did every night before battle. "Tanaka-san," he said without looking up from his weapon, "my sister wrote to me about the bombing of Tokyo. She said the Americans flew so low she could see their faces. I remembered the Doolittle raid from just 3 weeks before. 16 Army bombers launched from an aircraft carrier, something everyone said was impossible, and struck targets across our homeland. The attack had caused little physical damage, but the psychological impact rippled through every conversation, every strategic meeting. The Americans are resourceful, I admitted, but they cannot match our fighting spirit. Tomorrow we will show them what the Emperor's eagles can do." Kenji smiled and holstered his pistol. "My Zero has been blessed by the Shrine Maiden at Kyoto. She promised it would protect me through 100 battles. I hoped she was right." Dawn came too early on May 7th, painted in the gray light of a Pacific morning thick with humidity and tension. The loudspeaker crackled to life at 0630 hours, Admiral Takagi's voice echoing across the flight deck. "All pilots to stations. Enemy formations detected bearing southeast. This is not a drill." Within minutes, the deck erupted into controlled chaos. Deck crews scrambled to prepare aircraft while pilots ran to their assigned Zeros. I slipped on my leather flight helmet, adjusted my goggles, and performed the ritual inspection of my aircraft that might mean the difference between life and death. My Zero, tail number AI-154, bore the scars of previous engagements. Bullet holes patched with aluminum, paint scraped away by metal fragments, but her engine purred with mechanical reliability. I ran my hand along her propeller blade, whispering a brief prayer to my ancestors. "First wave launching in 5 minutes," shouted the flight commander. Priority targets are enemy carriers. Ignore escorts unless they threaten the mission. I climbed into my cockpit and went through the pre-flight checklist with practiced efficiency. Fuel, full tanks. Ammunition, 120 rounds for the 20mm cannons, 500 rounds for each machine gun. Radio functioning, oxygen system operational. The deck crew removed the wheel chocks and signaled all clear. I advanced the throttle, feeling the Zero respond like a living thing beneath my hands. The Nakajima Sakai 12 engine roared to life, 940 horsepower of precision engineering that would carry me into battle. At 0715 hours, Lieutenant Commander Yamamoto Zero rolled down the deck and lifted into the morning sky. I followed 30 seconds later, my aircraft rising smoothly from the carrier's bow into the limitless blue above the Coral Sea. Our formation consisted of 18 Zeros from Shokaku and 12 more from Zuikaku, tasked with escorting a strike force of 36K torpedo bombers and 18 Val dive bombers. As we climbed to our cruising altitude of 4,000 meters, I looked back to see our carriers growing smaller on the horizon, their wakes stretching behind them like white scars on blue silk. The radio crackled with reports from reconnaissance flights. Enemy carrier formation located, bearing 180 degrees, distance 280 kilometers. Multiple ships. Estimated 30 vessels total. 30 ships. The number sent a chill through our formation. Either American intelligence had failed catastrophically, or we were flying toward a trap. All fighters, maintain formation, came Yamamoto's voice over the radio. Tanaka, take your section and climb to 5,000 meters. Watch for enemy intercepts. I acknowledged and began climbing, Kenji and 2 other pilots following in tight formation. At 5,000 meters, the air grew thin and cold, but visibility extended to the horizon in every direction. Below us, the main strike force continued southward, their formations precise despite the increasing distance from home. At 0847 hours, everything changed. Enemy aircraft, 11 o'clock high. The voice over the radio belonged to one of our reconnaissance pilots, his tone sharp with alarm. Large formation, looks like fighters and dive bombers. I strained my eyes in the direction indicated and saw them, black dots against the blue sky, growing larger by the second. American aircraft, more than I had ever seen in one formation. As they approached, I could make out the distinctive shapes. F4F Wildcats with their stubby wings and radial engines. SBD Dauntless dive bombers loaded with heavy ordnance. All fighters, break and engage. Yamamoto's command cut through the radio chatter. Protect the bombers at all costs. I pushed my Zero into a diving turn, selecting the nearest Wildcat as my target. The American pilot saw me coming and turned to meet my attack head-on, his aircraft's guns already flashing. Tracer rounds streaked between us like deadly Christmas lights, the range closing at a combined speed of over 700 kilometers per hour. At the last possible second, I pulled up into the right, feeling the Zero respond instantly to my control inputs. The Wildcat continued past below me, and I reversed into a tight turn to pursue. But as I lined up for a firing pass, 2 more Wildcats appeared from nowhere, their guns trained on my aircraft. I threw the Zero into a violent barrel roll, feeling the airframe shudder under the stress. Enemy bullets cracked past my canopy, close enough that I could hear them over the engine noise. One round shattered my port navigation light, showering the cockpit with plastic fragments. This was not the same American Navy we had faced at Pearl Harbor or in the early months of the war. These pilots flew with skill and determination, their tactics coordinated and aggressive. As I fought to survive the next 30 seconds, I began to understand that something fundamental had changed in the balance of this war. The radio erupted with urgent voices, Japanese and American mixed together in a chaos of combat reports, damage assessments, and calls for help. Through the cacophony, I heard Lieutenant Commander Yamamoto's voice. Shokaku under attack. Heavy damage to flight deck. All available fighters returned to defend the carriers. I looked toward our task force and saw pillars of black smoke rising from the horizon. American dive bombers had somehow penetrated our defensive screen and were attacking our most valuable assets. For the first time in my career as a naval aviator, I felt the cold touch of genuine fear. The flight back to our carrier took 12 minutes that felt like hours. As my section approached the task force, the scope of the disaster became clear. Shokaku's flight deck was a maze of twisted metal and burning aircraft. Bomb craters punctured the wooden planking like giant bullet holes, and emergency crews fought fires that threatened to spread to the aviation fuel storage areas. "Tanaka, this is flight control," came a voice through my headset, barely audible over static and background noise. "We cannot land aircraft at this time. Proceeded to Zuikaku for recovery." I banked toward our sister ship, noting that she appeared undamaged. But even as I watched, another formation of American dive bombers appeared on the horizon, their approach angle suggesting they had identified Zuikaku as their next target. All fighters, came the urgent call from Zuikaku's air control center. "Enemy dive bombers approaching from the southeast. Intercept immediately." I pushed my throttle to maximum power and climbed toward the incoming Americans. My fuel gauge showed less than half full, not enough for an extended engagement, but sufficient for one decisive attack. Kenji formed up on my wing, his Zero trailing a thin stream of coolant from a damaged radiator. "Kenji, your engine is overheating," I called over the radio. "I can fight," he replied, his young voice tight with determination. "My Zero still has teeth." The American dive bombers approached in a loose formation of 12 aircraft, their bomb bays loaded with 500-pound weapons capable of gutting a carrier with a single direct hit. Above them, 8 Wildcats provided escort, weaving back and forth in a protective pattern that would make any attack costly. I selected the lead dive bomber as my target and began my attack run, coming in from slightly above and behind. The American rear gunner saw me approaching and opened fire with his twin, .30 caliber machine guns. His bullets sparked off my propeller hub and shattered my windscreen, but I held my course steady. At 200 meters range, I pressed the firing button. My 20mm cannons roared to life, their heavy shells tearing into the American bomber's port wing. Metal fragments flew in all directions as the wing structure collapsed, but the bomber continued flying, its pilot somehow maintaining control despite the damage. I pulled alongside the crippled aircraft and looked across at the American crew. The rear gunner, a young man not much older than Kenji, was slumped over his weapons, blood staining his flight jacket. The pilot turned to look at me, and for one strange moment, our eyes met through the barriers of plexiglass and national hatred. He was older than I expected, perhaps 30, with the kind of weathered face that suggested years of flying experience. Instead of the hatred I expected to see, his expression showed only grim determination and professional respect for a fellow aviator. He raised one gloved hand in acknowledgement before turning back to his controls. A burst of machine gun fire from a Wildcat broke my concentration. I broke away from the damaged bomber and found myself in a turning fight with 2 American fighters, their superior numbers beginning to tell. My Zero's superior maneuverability kept me alive, but I could not gain a decisive advantage against pilots who had clearly learned from earlier encounters with Japanese aircraft. "Tanaka-san," Kenji's voice cracked with panic. "My engine is seizing. I have to break off." I looked over to see his Zero trailing thick white smoke, its engine clearly failing. As I watched, he turned away from the combat and began a long glide toward the ocean surface, his propeller windmilling uselessly in the slipstream. "Kenji, can you make it back to the carrier?" "Negative. I'm going in the water." "Tell my sister." His radio went silent. I wanted to follow him to circle his crash site and guide rescue aircraft to his position. But the battle for Zuikaku continued to rage around me, and duty demanded that I remain engaged. I banked back toward the American formation, my ammunition running low and my fuel gauge approaching the reserve level. The dive bombers had begun their attack runs, plunging toward Zuikaku in the characteristic 70-degree dives that gave the SBD Dauntless its fearsome reputation. I selected the nearest bomber and dove after it, my Zero's superior speed allowing me to close the distance rapidly. But I was too late. As I lined up my shot, the American pilot released his bomb and pulled out of his dive. The 500-pound weapon fell toward Zuikaku's flight deck with the inexorable certainty of gravity, and I could only watch as it struck just forward of the carrier's island structure. The explosion lifted the forward section of the flight deck like a child's toy, sending aircraft and crew members spinning through the air. Secondary explosions followed as aviation fuel ignited, creating a chain reaction that spread throughout the forward half of the ship. Within minutes, Zuikaku was as badly damaged as her sister ship. 2 of our 4 carriers were out of action, their ability to launch and recover aircraft severely compromised. The carefully planned Operation Mo was disintegrating before my eyes. By noon on May 7th, our situation had deteriorated beyond recovery. Intelligence reports indicated that American search planes had located our remaining carriers, and more attacks were certain to follow. With Shokaku and Zuikaku unable to conduct flight operations, many of our aircraft were homeless, their fuel supplies dwindling with each passing hour. I joined a formation of survivors from multiple squadrons, our mixed group representing the scattered remnants of what had been the most powerful naval air force in the Pacific. Lieutenant Commander Yamamoto had not been heard from since the initial attacks on our carriers, and command had devolved to the senior surviving pilot, a grizzled veteran named Sasaki who had fought in China before the war. All aircraft, this is Sasaki, came his voice over the radio, calm despite our desperate circumstances. We are ordered to return to Rabaul. Form up in sections of 4 and maintain radio silence except for emergencies. Rabaul. The Japanese base was over 600 kilometers away, far beyond the normal range of our aircraft. With damaged planes and reduced fuel loads, many of us would not make it. I took stock of my situation. My Zero had sustained battle damage, shattered windscreen, damaged navigation light, and multiple bullet holes through non-critical structures. The engine ran smoothly, but my fuel quantity was dangerously low. If I maintained cruise power and optimal altitude, I might reach Rabaul with a few minutes of fuel remaining. Any deviation from the most efficient flight path would put me in the water. As our formation turned northwest toward home, I looked back one final time at the battle area. Smoke columns still rose from both damaged carriers, and the debris field of destroyed aircraft littered the ocean surface for kilometers in every direction. American ships moved freely through waters where, just hours before, the Imperial Japanese Navy had expected to achieve total victory. The flight to Rabaul became a test of endurance and skill. Every few minutes, another aircraft in our formation would fall behind, its engine failing or its fuel exhausted. We would see the pilot attempt a water landing, watch the splash as his aircraft hit the waves, and then continue onward, knowing that rescue was unlikely in these hostile waters. At 13:47 hours, my engine began to run roughly, the steady rumble interrupted by irregular misfiring that suggested contaminated fuel or battle damage to the fuel system. I reduced power slightly and enriched the fuel mixture, hoping to coax a few more kilometers from my dying aircraft. "Sasaki-san, this is Tanaka," I called over the radio. "My engine is failing. I don't think I can make Rabaul." "Understood, Tanaka. There is a small island bearing 280 degrees, about 40 kilometers away. Can you reach it?" I looked in the indicated direction and saw a green dot on the horizon, one of the countless small islands that dotted the southwest Pacific. It looked impossibly distant, but represented my only chance of survival. "I'll try," I replied, and banked toward the island. The final approach was a nightmare of failing engine power and decreasing altitude. My Zero, which had always been as responsive as a thoroughbred racehorse, now wallowed through the air like a wounded bird. The engine misfired more frequently, sending shudders through the entire airframe. At 200 meters altitude, the engine seized completely. The sudden silence was deafening after hours of mechanical noise, broken only by the whistle of wind through the bullet holes in my aircraft. I had perhaps 90 seconds to find a suitable landing site and execute a dead-stick approach. The island was small, maybe 2 kilometers long and half as wide, covered in dense jungle except for a narrow beach on the eastern shore. I had no choice but to attempt a belly landing on the sand, hoping that my aircraft would hold together long enough for me to survive the impact. I lowered my flaps and landing gear manually, without engine power, the hydraulic systems were inoperative, and lined up for final approach. The beach rushed toward me at 140 kilometers per hour, palm trees and rocks scattered across my intended landing area like obstacles in some deadly game. The impact was surprisingly gentle. My Zero touched down on the sand and skidded for perhaps 100 meters before coming to rest against a fallen palm tree. I sat in the cockpit for several seconds, hardly believing I was alive and uninjured. I spent 3 days on that nameless island before a Japanese seaplane found me and carried me back to Rabaul. 3 days to think about what I had witnessed over the Coral Sea, to process the reality of our tactical defeat and its implications for the larger war. The numbers were sobering. Our task force had lost 2 fleet carriers damaged beyond immediate repair, plus dozens of irreplaceable aircraft and experienced pilots. American losses were lighter. 1 carrier sunk, another damaged, but both their task forces remained operational. More importantly, Operation Mo had failed completely. Port Moresby remained in Allied hands, and our advance toward Australia had been stopped. But the true significance of the Battle of the Coral Sea went beyond tactical considerations. For the first time in the Pacific War, American naval aviators had fought Japanese forces on equal terms and emerged victorious. The mystique of Japanese invincibility, built through 6 months of stunning victories, had been shattered over those contested waters. I learned later that Kenji Nakamura had survived his water landing and been rescued by a Japanese destroyer. His letter reached me 2 months later, written from a hospital in Tokyo where he was recovering from injuries sustained during his ditching. He wrote about his sister, about the changing mood in Japan as casualty lists grew longer, and about his own doubts regarding the ultimate outcome of the war. The Americans we fought over the Coral Sea were not the same enemy we faced at Pearl Harbor, he wrote. They have learned from their defeats and adapted their tactics. Their pilots fly with skill and determination that rivals our own. I fear we may have awakened a sleeping giant, just as Admiral Yamamoto warned. By the time I received Kenji's letter, the Battle of Midway had already taken place, resulting in the loss of 4 more fleet carriers and the effective end of Japanese naval air superiority in the Pacific. The war that many of us expected to end in triumph was becoming a grinding struggle of attrition that Japan could not win. I flew combat missions for 8 more months after the Coral Sea, participating in the campaigns for Guadalcanal and the Solomon Islands. Each battle showed further evidence of American industrial and tactical superiority. Their aircraft improved steadily faster, better armed, and more durable than their predecessors. Their pilots gained experience and confidence with each engagement. By contrast, Japanese losses mounted without adequate replacement. Experienced pilots like Lieutenant Commander Yamamoto died in actions that achieved little strategic gain. New pilots arrived with insufficient training, flying aircraft that were becoming obsolete against ever-improving American opposition. My own war ended on February 18, 1943, when my Zero was shot down by a flight of F4U Corsairs over Bougainville. I survived the crash but sustained injuries that ended my flying career. As I was evacuated to Japan aboard a hospital ship, I looked back at the islands where so many brave men had died and wondered if their sacrifice had served any purpose beyond delaying the inevitable. Today, more than 3 decades after the guns fell silent, I often think about those desperate hours over the Coral Sea. I remember the faces of American pilots I fought against, young men not so different from ourselves, caught up in the terrible machinery of global war. I remember the sound of Kenji's voice over the radio as his engine failed, and the sight of our proud carriers burning under the Pacific sun. History has judged the Battle of the Coral Sea as a strategic victory for the Allied forces, the first significant check to Japanese expansion in the Pacific. Military analysts point to our failure to capture Port Moresby, to the damage inflicted on our carrier force, and to the boost in American morale that followed their successful defense. But for those of us who lived through those battles, the true lessons are more personal and complex. We learned that courage and skill are not the exclusive property of any one nation, that superior technology and training can overcome traditional advantages, and that war ultimately consumes the dreams and lives of young men regardless of which flag they serve. I think often of Lieutenant Commander Yamamoto, whose body was never recovered from the waters of the Coral Sea. He died believing in the righteousness of our cause, confident that Japanese fighting spirit could overcome any material disadvantage. His faith was absolute, his sacrifice complete. I think of Kenji Nakamura, who survived the war but never fully recovered from the psychological wounds inflicted by years of combat. He returned to his family farm in Kyushu and lived quietly until his death in 1967, rarely speaking of his experiences as a naval aviator. And I think of the American pilots we faced that day, men whose names I never learned but whose courage I can never forget. They flew into combat knowing they were outnumbered, pressed their attacks despite heavy losses, and achieved objectives that changed the course of the Pacific War. History has vindicated their sacrifice in ways that ours was not. The Battle of the Coral Sea was the beginning of the end for Japanese naval aviation, though few of us recognized it at the time. Over the following 3 years, American industrial power would produce aircraft carriers and combat aircraft in numbers that dwarfed anything we could match. Their pilot training programs would graduate thousands of skilled aviators to replace combat losses, while our own ranks grew steadily thinner. The tactical innovations we witnessed over the Coral Sea, coordinated fighter sweeps, improved dive bombing techniques, better radio communication procedures, would become standard practice throughout the American Pacific Fleet. By 1945, their naval air forces would represent the most powerful and experienced combat organization in the history of warfare. As an old man looking back on those distant days, I feel no bitterness toward our former enemies. War is a terrible teacher, but its lessons are profound and lasting. The young Americans who flew against us over the Coral Sea were defending their conception of freedom and democracy with the same dedication that drove us to fight for our emperor and our homeland. History has shown that their vision of the post-war world was more humane and sustainable than ours, but that does not diminish the sincerity with which both sides entered the conflict. The Pacific War ended on September 2, 1945, aboard the battleship Missouri in Tokyo Bay. I was among the Japanese delegation that witnessed the surrender ceremony, my role as a translator putting me close enough to observe General MacArthur and the other Allied leaders. The ceremony was conducted with dignity and restraint, showing a magnanimity and victory that honored both the defeated and the victorious. As I watched the American flag raised over Tokyo Bay that September morning, I remembered another flag ceremony 3 years earlier, the rising sun banner flying over our carrier task force as we steamed toward the Coral Sea, confident in our strength and certain of our destiny. The contrast was sobering but not bitter. Wars end as they must, with one side victorious and the other defeated, but the courage and sacrifice of the participants transcends political outcomes. The young men who flew and fought over the Coral Sea, American and Japanese alike, did their duty as they understood it. They faced death with honor, protected their comrades with loyalty, and served their nations with dedication. History may judge their causes differently, but their personal valor deserves recognition and respect. In the end, that may be the most important lesson of the Battle of the Coral Sea, that individual courage and sacrifice can coexist with strategic failure, that defeat in war does not negate the nobility of those who fought, and that the bonds forged in combat transcend the political divisions that created the conflict. The Zero fighter that carried me into battle that morning was a magnificent aircraft, the product of Japanese engineering skill and manufacturing precision. For a brief period, it represented the cutting edge of aviation technology and the spear point of our nation's military ambitions. Its pilots were among the best trained and most experienced naval aviators in the world, veterans of conflicts stretching from China to Pearl Harbor. Yet, superior equipment and individual skill were not enough to overcome the industrial might and strategic advantages of our opponents. The Americans we faced over the Coral Sea flew aircraft that were less maneuverable and slower climbing than our Zeros, but they flew them in greater numbers, with better tactical coordination, and with the confidence that came from knowing their homeland's factories could replace any losses. This transformation of American naval aviation from the shocked and scattered force we had surprised at Pearl Harbor to the confident and aggressive fleet we encountered at the Coral Sea represents one of the most remarkable military achievements in history. In just 5 months, they had analyzed their defeats, reorganized their forces, improved their equipment, and developed new tactics that would carry them to ultimate victory. The cost of that victory, measured in ships sunk and lives lost, was enormous for both sides. Every carrier that burned, every aircraft that plunged into the Pacific, every young man who died far from home, represented dreams unfulfilled and potential unrealized. War is always wasteful of the very qualities, youth, courage, skill, and idealism that make human civilization worth defending. As I write these words in 1975, 33 years after the Battle of the Coral Sea, both Japan and the United States have become allies in a world threatened by different ideologies and different forms of militarism. The enmity that drove us to fight with such ferocity has been replaced by mutual respect and cooperation based on shared values and common interests. Young Japanese and American pilots now train together, their aircraft bearing the markings of Allied air forces rather than hostile combatants. The technical knowledge gained through wartime experience has been channeled into peaceful competition in commercial aviation and space exploration. The industrial capacity that produced fighters and bombers now creates the tools of prosperity and progress. Perhaps this transformation from bitter enemies to close allies represents the true victory of the Coral Sea generation, not the tactical success of one side or the defeat of the other, but the eventual triumph of reconciliation over revenge, cooperation over conflict, and hope over hatred. The waters of the Coral Sea are peaceful now, traveled by merchant ships carrying trade between nations that once fought for their very survival. The coral reefs that gave the sea its name continue their ancient growth, unmarked by the battles that raged above them decades ago. Time heals the wounds of war, but memory preserves its lessons. I hope future generations will remember not only the strategic importance of the Battle of the Coral Sea, but also the human cost of the victory achieved there. Every advance in human freedom and dignity has been purchased with the sacrifice of those willing to risk everything for principles larger than themselves. The young men who flew over the Coral Sea in May 1942, American and Japanese, victor and vanquished, deserve to be remembered not as symbols of national pride or historical inevitability, but as individuals who faced the ultimate test of courage and found themselves equal to its demands. Their legacy is not the temporary triumph of one political system over another, but the enduring example of human beings rising above their limitations when confronted with extraordinary circumstances. That is the lesson I take from my experience over the Coral Sea, and the memory I hope to leave for those who follow. War may be inevitable, but the courage to face it with honor and the wisdom to end it with reconciliation are the qualities that distinguish civilization from barbarism, hope from despair, and victory from mere conquest. The Battle of the Coral Sea was my introduction to the reality that individual courage, no matter how pure, cannot overcome historical forces larger than any single person or nation. But it also taught me that such courage, displayed by men on both sides of the conflict, creates a legacy that transcends the immediate results of battle and inspires future generations to strive for something better than the repetition of old hatreds. In that sense, perhaps we all wanted the Coral Sea,